program. My name is Ireti Obafemi. I'm an immigration lawyer. And of course, the name of our immigration firm is called Magnum Insights Immigration Incorporated. Thanks to everyone who has joined and who's going to join also as the webinar progresses. Today we'll be talking about migrating to Canada as a temporary resident, specifically as a tourist, and not only moving to Canada as a tourist, then turning your tourist visa subsequently into a temporary resident visa, either a study permit or a work permit, and becoming a permanent resident. Because most of the time, becoming a permanent resident or becoming a citizen is the goal. So we are here to educate you, to give you the tip and everything. So please stay tuned, and from beginning to the end, because we're going to be sharing with you important information. So if you've ever applied to come to Canada before, if you've ever applied for a visitor's visa, for a study permit, or whatever temporary residence application you've submitted before, and you have a visitor's visa, that's fantastic. So your visitor's visa right now is gold. And if you don't have a visitor's visa, maybe you've been refused before, you've never done it before, I will explain how you can go about it yourself. If you want to do it yourself, fantastic. It's not as difficult as it is, but you have to know. There are some things you have to know. There are some things you have to put in place so that your application will be successful. So once again, that's just an introduction. Thanks for joining, and I hope you stay tuned till the end. Having a visitor's visa right now is very, very important, especially if your goal is to migrate to Canada. Before now, it was impossible to convert your visitor's visa into a study permit or a work permit. But after COVID happened, the government decided to change its policy such that if you have a visitor's visa now in Canada and you visit Canada, you can either convert your visitor's visa into a study permit or a work permit. Now, permanent residence is different. Do you understand? Because you must be so there are, how do I explain it? There are steps to this sense. You first come with your visitor's visa. You have to convert your visitor's visa into a study or a work permit, then subsequently convert it into permanent residence. Now, to convert your visitor's visa into a study permit, all you need to do is, first of all, you need to get an admission. So apply to schools of your choice. Once you get your admission, you get your attestation letter. We did a webinar about applying for study permit. So please, if that's what you're interested in, just check, search for our previous webinars and you'll find the video there. So once you get your admission, you apply for study permit. So you can apply for your study permit within Canada. You don't have to go outside Canada to do that if you already have a visitor's visa. The advantage of that is if you become a student and you graduate, you become eligible to get a work permit as well. Once you have a work permit and you work for an employer for 1 year, a minimum of 1 year, you become eligible to apply for permanent residence. So for Canada, there is a transition plan from being a visitor to being a student to being a worker and subsequently becoming a permanent resident. The other option, which I'll be dwelling more on or more emphasis on, would be converting your status as a visitor. I don't know what this is showing me. Okay, converting your status as a visitor to becoming a temporary foreign worker, which is work permit, and subsequently, after becoming a worker, converting it into permanent residence. So if you are a visitor in Canada, if you hold a visitor's visa, if you are within Canada, and you want to become a worker, first thing first is you need to get an employment. You need to find an employment. So you need to, if you can do the leg work, you need to find employers that are willing to process LMIA for you. Now, a lot of these employers might not even know what LMIA is. Do you understand? But what you need is an employer that will be willing to process an LMIA, basically sponsor you. If you find such jobs and the employer processes an LMIA for you, you'll be able to convert your visitor's visa into a work permit. You get an employer-specific work permit. Once you get an employer-specific work permit, you'll be able to stay back in Canada. Usually, your work permit will be approved for 2 years. It could be for 2, it could be for 3. You'll be able to stay back in the country, work for the employer. Now, after working for an employer for a minimum of 1 year, you become eligible to apply for permanent residence. So transferring or your progression from visitor's visa to work permit to permanent residence, in my opinion, is actually faster than the progression from visitor's visa study permit, because you have to get a study permit. Let's say your study would be for a year or 2 years. Afterwards, you have to work for an employer for a minimum of 1 year before you become a permanent resident. So in my opinion, if you're coming as a visitor's visa, as a visitor, and your intention is to, convert into permanent residence at the end of the day, the work permit is kind of like a shortcut for me. I prefer it, but both options are fantastic options. If you want to go to school, that's fantastic. For study, it might be easier to get an admission compared to getting a job. Sorry about that. So those are the two options that are available. Now, if you become a permanent resident in Canada, you have to live in Canada for a minimum of 3 years within 5 years in order to become a citizen. So you must be in Canada, because there are certain days that you have to be in Canada within 5 years, within a space of 5 years, to become a citizen. So if you're already a permanent resident, that is, you've transferred from being a visitor to a worker or a student, and you've transferred to becoming a worker or a student, and now you're already a permanent resident and eventually you want to be a citizen, you must be in Canada for 3 years. Now, those periods where you're a temporary resident, meaning you're a student, you're a worker, those days are going to also count towards your permanent residency. But I'm not going to bore you with all that. That's another information on its own. So I'm going to be explaining how to apply for visitor's visa, because that's the first step for people that are joining because they want to apply for visitor's visa and subsequently transfer. Now, visitor's visa is a temporary residence application. It is not a permanent residence application. I just explained how you can transfer from being a temporary foreign worker or a holder of a temporary resident visa to becoming a permanent resident. So visitor's visa, that's a tourist visa, is a temporary residence visa, which means that you are coming to Canada temporarily. You are not yet a permanent resident. So this is the idea. When you are applying for a visitor's visa, what you are saying to immigration, IRCC, is that I just want to come and visit Canada temporarily. Now, if your goal is to become a worker and stay back and become a permanent resident, let it be in your mind, but you're not going to put it in your application. So what you are going to be putting in your application, or what you'll be telling the IRCC, is that you are coming as a visitor to visit temporarily, and you intend to go back to your country. First thing first, there has to be purpose of your visit. What is the reason why you intend to come to Canada? There are different purposes. Let's say you have relative. You can say you are coming to visit a relative. In such situation, your relative will be inviting you, probably giving you an invitation letter, saying, oh, Ireti is coming to visit my family, coming to visit my kid. Ireti is my sister. Ireti is my cousin. Ireti is my old friend. Ireti is a best friend. So now that is your purpose for coming to Canada, is to visit a family or friend. There are other purposes. Maybe you're coming for a short program, you're coming for a conference, you're coming as a tourist, you're just coming to see the city. If you're coming for a conference, obviously you must attach your conference tickets, details of your conference. Oh, I bought a conference ticket. The conference is happening sometimes in October. I'm coming for that conference. If your purpose is to visit because of conference, it's good, or it's important that conference is related to like what you do or your profession or your career. So for example, if you are a doctor, you're coming for a medical conference, it makes sense. If you're a nurse, you're coming for, maybe something in healthcare related, it makes sense. If you're a lawyer, you're coming for a conference that has to do with legal, That makes sense. Um, Another purpose would be tourism. You're just coming to visit. So look for tourist attraction areas in Canada where you can book your hotel, you can buy your tickets. If you are able to do that, you've proven that you have a solid purpose for coming. So that's the first thing first. Another thing IRCC look out for is ties to your home country. This is very, 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 very important. Like if there is reasons why a lot of visitors visa application are being refused is number one, I'm just going to give you the reason now. They either say we are not convinced that you intend to go back to your country, you have not proven that you have ties in your country, the purpose of your visits, like they've not seen what exactly is the purpose of your visit. So I've dealt on purpose already. So I'll be talking about ties to your home country. So the ties part is very important. Let's say I am an applicant, I'm married, I have kids. When I'm submitting an application, it's always better if I apply alone. That's because now I'm leaving my children behind. My husband is back home, my kids are back home. It is obvious I have ties. Like IRCC will look at it as, oh, this is a mom, she's not going to leave her husband and she's not going to leave her kids, so obviously she has ties. Do you understand? She will go back to her family. Let's say I am not married, I'm a single lady, right? Ties, there are different ways to prove ties. I have an employment in my country, so I'm going to be attaching, oh, my job offer. Maybe I work in the bank and I've been working in the bank for like 4 years. I'm going to attach my letter of employment, my reference letter, my pay slip, everything to show that, okay, I have a good employment, I have a solid employment in my country. I'm just visiting Canada for 2 weeks, I'll definitely go back to my job. Aside that, we have property ties. So if you have properties in your name, now the properties have to be in your name. I have a landed property, maybe I have a piece of land or pieces of lands. I have houses, I have vehicles, I have whatever it is that shows that I am well established in my country. I have things I'm going to lose in my country. So I'm not just going to pick up my stuffs and I'm going to leave. Obviously, those things are tying me back to, my country. I'm from Nigeria. So maybe I have a property in my village or I have a property in my hometown. You have to attach your property document. So those are other ways to prove ties. Another way to prove ties, not as solid as the first two I spoke about, but you can add letters from families, from friends. If you're a member of any organization, it shows that you are well established where you are coming from. So let's say a letter from my church, and my church is saying, oh, I've been a good member for the past, I've been attending this church for 6 years. I'm even a youth fellowship leader. Obviously I have ties in my country. I'm a member of a club, maybe Nigerian Bar Association. They write a letter, stuff like that, just to show that you are well. I cannot, it looks like I'm overemphasizing it, but ties is very important. Also, proof of funds. If you're applying for a visitor's visa, they want to see your income, or rather, do you have enough money to sustain yourself? Now, not just sustain yourself, you are trying to prove that you are doing well in your country. See, a visitor's visa application is a kind of proud application. You have to put your good leg forward, like your best foot. So do you have money in your account? You must have solid money. And when you're calculating, okay, what should be in your proof of funds, you have to consider your flight tickets, because obviously you've not bought your flight. So they want to see that it's going to cover for your return ticket, it's going to cover for your maybe hotel accommodation, it's going to cover for your feeding, it's going to cover for everything, So proof of funds is very, very important. Have money in your account. Also, it shows that this person is not doing badly in their country, like you are balling, to use that English, right? So proof of funds. I've talked about property, I've talked about employment, I've talked about family ties. Family ties is very important. I've talked about organization, association. So basically, that would help your visitor's visa application. Visitor's visa, obviously, it's not 100% guaranteed, but if you can put in a very, very good application, that would really help you, and you have a higher chance of getting an approval. Um, uh, if there are questions, I'll be happy to answer your questions at any time. So please feel free to type your questions and I'll try my best to read it. Elijah, I don't know if there are any questions right now. Okay, so also I want to just talk about common tips to help your visitor's visa application. Now, if your intention is to get a visitor's visa and subsequently transition into either a work permit, a study permit that would lead to permanent residence. Now, I have it. I have this tip for you. I Nobody will tell you. And usually this goes for, people use agents as well. I know that when you are submitting a visitor's visa application or when you are filling the form, you want to like I said, put your best foot forward, right? You want to overhype what you do. Do you get? So somebody who is a customer service might want to put company manager or managing director or CEO. Okay. Now that has advantages and that has disadvantages. When you are applying for visitor's visa with the intention to transition, you already got your visitor visa. Now you come into Canada and you're trying to get an employment. IRCC has your record. So they've seen everything you put in the system, like all the whole package. Do you understand? You are the firm manager, you are the CEO, you are the HR, whatever big name you ready, you are the construction, da, 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 which is fantastic. You got your But when you're already in Canada and you're now trying to get a job, don't forget, and realistically, it's always more difficult to get those high-end jobs. Like you're a visitor, it will be difficult to get. I'm using difficult, I'm not using impossible. It might be difficult to get a bank manager position as a visitor the moment you enter Canada. One of the jobs that will be easier to get can be maybe someone that works in a restaurant, someone that works as a caregiver, someone that a little bit you know a little bit, not the high end jobs, but maybe a little like average, mid-level, low level kind of jobs. Unfortunately, in your profile, you already put, top, all those big shots kind of jobs. Now you got a low level job, maybe a kitchen helper. Sometimes it becomes an issue because you already got a low level job, and on your profile, IRCC is saying that, you've been top, top gun from your country, right? And for any job you get in Canada, when it's time to apply for your work permit, you need to prove that you have the experience to do the job. Regardless of the job, you have the professional experience to do the job. So let's say you came into Canada, you got a job as a kitchen helper, and there is nowhere on your resume that shows kitchen helper. There is nowhere in your visitor's visa application that shows visitors kitchen helper. You've just been, it's just been bang, 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 bang. That might become a red flag for IRCC because they'll be like, okay, you want to work as a kitchen helper in Canada, you don't have the experience. So, and in your visitor's visa, you need to disclose your experience in the last 10 years. So, what I tell people or what I advise people is, this is just a tip. While you are disclosing your big job, it's also important to include your small jobs. That's because you do not know what kind of job you will get in Canada. And you don't want that your records in Canada to now be a problem. So for example, if I were to do it by myself, or if I had a client who is maybe works in the bank as a cashier, right? And da, da, da. And she has also worked, maybe she has a little bit experience in caregiving, or maybe she also has experience in cooking. I might decide to also include it. Do you understand? Or maybe she's an entrepreneur or something. I can, so while I'm putting, oh, she's also a banker, I can also put She has managed a restaurant before, and she has also worked as a caregiver. Do you understand? Or I could put general labor. So that way I am kind of putting in room for any kind of job she eventually gets when she arrives in Canada, such that the profile or the record is already in her system and it's not going to be an issue. So this is like golden information. I hope you hold on to it and you don't forget for any time you're applying for your visitor's visa. And if it is an agent that is doing it for you as well, please, agents, because I've seen a lot of things. Agents will just put big, big things for you, and when you come into Canada, it becomes an issue. It's not a big deal if you put your big jobs and under it you just put maybe general labor, something easy that would be able to accommodate every other job you eventually get in Canada.
We
Elijah, I
have
think,
three questions. Yes, we
yeah,
do have
please
three
start.
questions.
Yeah.
So the first person, Oyindamola Helen, is asking, how easy can it be for a nurse to get a caregiver job while on visitor's visa? That is from Oyindamola.
Okay, Oyindamola, that's a very, very good question. And this your question, I'm going to relate it to every other profession so that people will not be asking me how easy it is for a lawyer, how easy it is for a doctor, how easy it is for a banker. Do you understand? Um, for a nurse, it's kind of a little bit easier because of course your profession is in demand. Do you understand? It's possible to get if you can do the legwork, maybe go from care homes to care homes, go on job websites. One of the popular job websites is the Job Bank. When you are searching on Job Bank, try to search for jobs that would also sponsor you as well, jobs that has LMIE, labor impact assessments, labor market impact assessment, LMIA. So those are the jobs that are available for foreigners, meaning the employers are willing to sponsor, excuse me, the employers are willing to sponsor a foreigner. I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be tough if you decide to do it by yourself. And this is not me trying to market any immigration consultant or market any immigration firm, but it is possible. Do you understand? However, to make your work easier, I would advise you, and this is tip number, maybe my tip number two. I would advise you to retain the services of either an immigration firm, an immigration lawyer, or a foreign labor recruiter. What will take you maybe 1 year to find might eventually just take you 3 months to find. Do you understand? So that would be my advice because I've had lots of people come into Canada and they're unable to get a job. Like you think it's easy to get a job. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not as easy as a lot of people make it sound. But you can make your journey easier if you retain the services of an immigration firm, an immigration lawyer, make sure they are legitimate because again, you can get scammed as well. I was going to add something, but it's kind of skipped my head.
So,
Okay,
should
answer
you
to it.
remember, we have other questions. Now,
Yeah.
Igwe TK is asking, I have a visitor's visa. Please, how do I convert it to a work PR? I have a visitor's visa. Please, how do I convert it to a work/PR?
So I'd explained that one. So that was what I just explained throughout the whole process. I think what I wanted to add was if you have a visitor's visa, fantastic. For especially for that lady that asked nurse when she comes into Canada. My advice and my honest advice, because I've seen a lot of people come into Canada and become stranded. My honest advice is that you start the process before you come into Canada. That is because when you carry your bag and come to Canada, you need an accommodation. Whether you know it or not, your bill, you start accruing bills, like you start paying bills, but you've not gotten a job. It can take you 3 months, it can take you 6 months, it can take you more. It depends on if you find somebody to help you do it, like maybe a firm, or you decide to do it by yourself. It can be quicker, it can be slow, it can be extremely frustrating. So my advice for anybody, including my clients, usually I prefer when retain retain your consultants to start the process for you, such that you have gotten to a very, very, very good level before you pack your bag. Because even after you've gotten the job, LMIA can take you another 4 months. That's 4 months. So let's say you come into Canada already as a visitor, you've not even gotten the job. You don't know when you will get the job. When you get the job, the employer will go and process another LMIA. LMIA can take 4 months. See, you're already frustrated. Do you understand? Then before you can now apply for work permit. So at the end of the day, we see a lot of people, they come maybe because they are ill advised. They think the moment they come, they you hit the ground, you quickly. It's not always like that for everybody. So my advice is, even if you have a visitor's visa, start the process. If you are not in Canada, please start the process before you leave your country to avoid the frustration. Um, the guy that asked the question, that's what I explained. If you have a visitor's visa, you need to get a job. Once you get the job,
Mm-hmm.
the employer sponsors you. They process
Mm-hmm.
an LMIA. Once your
Mm-hmm.
LMIA is approved, you
Mm-hmm.
apply for your work permit. As a visitor,
Yes.
you can either apply for your work permit outside the country, meaning you can apply while you're in your country. You just submit the application online, or you can apply inside Canada. So if you are inside Canada, the application that will be submitted will be an application to convert your visitor's visa into a work permit. So as a visitor, you can apply outside your country, or you can apply inside your country, inside Canada.
Yeah, thank you. Fantastic. So we have a question from Malik Bolaji Yusuf, and his question is in two phases. So I'll
Okay.
read the two questions so you can treat it as one. So the first question is, how do I update my work experience after submitting an application for a visitor's visa? I'll take it
Okay.
again. How do I update my work experience after submitting an application for visitor's visa? And the
Yep.
second is, I'm still waiting. Biometric done too. So that's like a complementing the first question. He has done his biometric as well. So he's
Okay.
asking, how can he update his work experience?
Okay. So if you want to update your work experience, it's very easy. All you need to do is to fill a web form. WEBFORM. So just Google Web Form Canada. Once you Google Web Form Canada, you will see the website. It's a Canada website.ca, ends with .ca or something. Anyways, web form is how you communicate with immigration when you have an application pending. So the web form will come up. You need to fill your detail, like your first name, your last name, your date of birth, because they want to link it to the application in process. Your application number, your UCI number, your what else, your email, the email you used to apply. Then it's going to ask for a message. So your message is like, what's your request? Just write, I would like to update my immigration form, or I would like to update my application. Then you must have completed the immigration form. That's, that first immigration form you submitted, the IMM, is it 5257? Yeah, you have to fill another one that now has your updated information. I think you said work experience. So it has your updated information. Then you upload it, upload your passport as well. So they can, just to verify that you're the one. You can even upload your biometric request letter as well. So just upload everything and submit the application. It's going to ask you in the place of signature, who is the person submitting the web form. Say, click on applicant, because you're the one submitting it by yourself. And it takes you to the next page. Would you like to upload documents? Yes, upload those documents I just spoke about and submit. IRCC will get your updated form. And in a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks, it depends on how fast they are, they will send you an email to let you know that we got your documents and we have updated your profile. If you don't
Mhm.
get it in 2 weeks, do it again. Do you understand? So
Okay.
basically, that's how you work. That's how it
All
works.
right. Thank you. So another question, still from Oyindamola. She said, I believe it's better to get a job offer before coming to Canada.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I would like to get the help of an immigration lawyer or firm. How do you want to respond to that?
So yes, Oyindamola, you're a very, very smart person. It is I would advise you to start the process. Like I said, start the process before you come to Canada, so you will not be frustrated. If you need the help of an immigration firm, please, we are here. What is our work? Reach out to us. The name of our firm is Magnum Insight Immigration Incorporated. You can reach out to us via any of our social media platform. You can send us an email. Our email is immigration@magnuminsight.com. Check us up on Instagram. Instagram, we're very, very active. So we'll respond to you right away.
Mhm. So Lillian Adejumo is saying again, I think it's two questions that mean the same thing. I'm going to read the two questions. The first is, how easy is it to transit, especially for someone not in the health industry? Or please, what about those not in the health sector?
So it's very easy, whether you're in the health sector or you are not in the health sector. The best, it's the same process. Do you understand? It's just about, first of all, identify your transition plan. Like what's the program you want to use to transition? You can either transition through study or you transition through work. If you want to go to school, you transition through study. I just did one for someone. She's inside Canada. As she came in as a visitor, we got admission, applied for study permits. Now she's a student. She just got her visa 2 days ago or something. Do you understand? So from there, she's going to transition. If you decide to transition through work, we do that one like 1 million times. We are popular for that one. You have to get a job. Do you get? You have to get a job, use the services. We usually partner with foreign labor recruiters that help clients to get a job. So you get a job. Once you get a job, the employer processes the document, like I said, and you apply for work permit. So irrespective of your field, the only thing I cannot promise you is that they will get you a job in, or it will be easy for you to get a job in your field. Do you understand? So, for example, if you studied accounting, it might be difficult to get an accountant job, right? If you studied engineering, it might be difficult to get an engineering job. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes if you want to transition, especially for as a visitor to a worker, you need to be flexible and open-minded, but it's possible, irrespective of your field or what you study. I hope I answered that.
Um, I'm sure you did, to my understanding. As far as I can see, we don't have any questions in queue. I'm checking all social media as well. Oyindamola is saying thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so no other questions for now. I think we can just wrap it up and just, let them know that there will be a replay. If they want to watch it all over again, they missed it from the
You already
start.
said that, Elijah.
Okay, I'm going to give you the floor then.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who joined on all our platforms, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok. On my TikTok, this is my first live, so I'm excited about that. I can see my cousin Fola Shadi joined me. Yay! Thank you, Shadi. Anyways, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. There's going to be a replay. So usually after our webinar, we kind of, put our videos together and the important talking points and probably post it. Feel free to share after we've posted it. We would also be holding another webinar soon. Usually we do it every week or every other week. So please follow us on all social media platforms and watch out for our next upcoming webinar. I don't know the topic yet, but I know it's going to be good as well. So
We
thanks
have
everyone.
we have
Yeah,
another question. They don't want you to go. So
you don't
Stephanie
want
is
me to.
asking. Stephanie is asking, what about someone that gets an LMIA job and gets there and there's no job? Ooh.
Stephanie, even me, I open mouth. So hello, hello.
Oh, I'm here. I gave you the floor. I have other questions lined up, so maybe you want to answer
Okay,
Stephanie quickly.
so if you get an LMIA job and you get here and there is no job, unfortunately, these things sometimes happen. Do you understand? So that's why you just have to be careful. You have to be careful how I don't even know, maybe who your agent is. You have to be careful who. That's all I can say because sometimes it happens. Do you understand? If you get to Canada and there's no job, unfortunately, you have to get another job. That's the truth. But the good news is, let's say IRCC, you applied for, because the LMIA is legitimate. That's the first thing, because I'm assuming that you got a real LMIA, you got a real job, they processed it. It's just that when you came to Canada, the employer said, oops, no job. In that case, you don't become illegal. your work permit is still valid for those numbers of years. So let's say your work permit is valid for 2 years. IRCC just assumes that in that 2 years, at least you should get another job. Do you understand? So you can decide to stay back in Canada for that 2 years, but try to get another job. And that job, the employer would also need to process an LMIA for you. Do you understand? So sometimes these things happen. Even sometimes it's not even the employer's fault. Maybe it just took so long to process your application and you came, and by then the employer's economic situation has changed. Do you understand? It doesn't happen all the time, of course. It's not like it's very, very common, but I'm just saying, right? So, but that doesn't mean you become illegal, right? You're still validly in the country. You still have 2 years to get another employer and apply for another work permit, basically.
Thank you. We have questions lining up. I doubt you are going to leave this call, this
Okay, let's be
webinar.
fast. Let's be fast.
Okay,
Let's be
okay. So Fuanaila is asking, if someone is being invited by a family member, say your elder brother invites you, do you still need to arrange your information as you've explained, being well packaged?
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
no matter
Now,
who is,
Malik,
yeah,
I'm going to read the next question unless you have something to say to that.
no matter who is inviting you, even if it is your mom, you
Okay.
still need to prove that you go back to your country and you still need to package all your documents.
All right. So the next question, I doubt we can take it, but I advise you, Malik, send us a DM on IG or book a consultation. But for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to ask one last question and I'm going to read it. It's very long. He said, thanks for the profound answer to my previous question. The reason why I ask is that I've started gaining experience in caregiving, but my previous application did not capture that. But I recently learned that I can get certification while in Canada and get experience and apply for jobs. So will you advise me not to update my experience with IRCC? It's a long question. Malik, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to, book a consultation or reach out to us on Instagram. Ireti, I think you want to close this webinar so we can just close it and, wrap up.
Okay, no problem. Malik, like I said before, you can update your profile with a web form. I think that kind of covers it. So thanks everyone. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. On behalf of Magnum Inside and everyone at Magnum Inside, we want to say thank you for always joining our webinars. So see you on our next edition. Bye everyone.
Yeah, before you leave, thank you everyone. Please do not forget to follow us on our social media handles. If you want to engage our services, please send an email to immigration@magnuminsight.com. We are very active on Instagram at magnuminsight_. We look forward to your responses. And like Ireti rightly said, please follow our next series of webinar. We've done only about 3 or 4 and we have 8 to go. So there's so much value for everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Now Ireti can say bye and then we